You ever wonder why you can't take action? Whether you get up off the couch and build your business, whether you apply for that new job or don't, whether you get in the relationship and make the moves to put yourself out there, you will be hard pressed to find anything in life worth having that doesn't require you to take some form of action. Now, this is not some motivational video. It's just gonna scream at you and guilt trip yourself into like acting out of self-hate, because action is not one massive reason. It's 4 things that feed into action. So in this video, I wanna go over a framework that will help you diagnose exactly the root cause of why you procrastinate, can't take action, have fear around it, are low energy. And the second part is I wanna break down 3 common archetypes to give you a little insight onto what actually holds people back. And the third thing I'll do with you is address how you can actually fix this immediately after this video. Bust out the arts and crafts, let's go. The first thing you have to understand is action is not one massive act. It's built up of 4 small components that work together. What are those 4? Here they are. The very first component is energy. And in my opinion, this is 25% of all action, just having the energy to do it. It's going to be really hard for you to take action if you wake up and you're hungover. And you're just like, dude, let me just order Uber Eats and eat like crap. I know, because that was my early 20s. And I was like, why can't I take action? It was literally because I didn't have the energy. I wasn't healthy. This is why people who get into shape from being severely out of shape say it's life-changing. They literally get a 25% increase in their happiness, their life, their focus, etc. The second component for you, this is clarity, knowing what to do. There's a saying, it doesn't matter how high you climb if your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. Before you can get a new job, you have to have the clarity and the awareness that you need a new job. And it helps to know which field you want to be in. Now you might be like, well, Clark, what? That's only 15%? And I'll show you why later. This one's sneaky. It can actually work against you. And I see this holding a lot of people back. The third component, your subconscious. It's been estimated we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80 to 90% of those are subconscious. You're not even aware of them. Haven't you had an experience where you know exactly what you need to do, you have the energy to do it, but you show up and get in your own way? So this is where if you do any sort of shadow work or letting go or releasing of past blocks or beliefs that aren't serving you, you can get a 25% boost in moving forward where you want to be, just like that. But there's one massive component we haven't talked about. What do you think it is? Like, posit what could possibly be 35% of action that we haven't talked about. It's very important, and it's also very unsexy. Self-discipline, allowing yourself to show up regardless of how you feel. You might be thinking, well, what's the difference between, isn't this just motivation? Couldn't be further from it. Motivation is taking action on 100% based on how you feel. The problem is that changes day to day, doesn't it? It might even change week to week, month to month. So if you always give yourself an out to not take any action because you feel a certain way, or I feel low energy, or I feel lost, or I feel like I have a block, it's going to be really hard for you to get in enough reps to get proficient enough to be at that top 1% like we spoke about, isn't it? Self-discipline is taking action in spite of how you feel. A good metaphor, capstone to help this concept sink in before we keep going, is if you think of a car, the goal is to move forward. Well, each one of these could be a tire on the car. And if any one of these is flat, not performing as well, your overall performance is going to suffer. And if one of them is blown out, the car's really no good, you're better off on foot. Put another way, if any of these are off balance, it's like you're spinning your wheels stuck in a ditch, stuck in the mud. You know where you want to be, but things are not progressing for you. Now let's create a hypothetical you and fill this in. Let's say you're maxing out your energy at 50%. So like of the max energy, health, wellness, lifestyle, everything you could possibly do, you're doing at least half of it. So that nets you 13%, let's call it. Let's also imagine that you're someone, you got about a third of the clarity that you possibly could on the 2.0 you on where you're going in life. So that gives you a third of 15 is plus 5% towards the 2.0 you. Let's also imagine that You get a 10% lift out of the subconscious mind. Like, you know, some basics about shadow work. Maybe you've meditated before, maybe you've taken up journaling, but you know there's still a good chunk of room for improvement, or maybe you don't use it as often as you should, but you still get a positive 10% from it. And let's say you're not as disciplined as you'd like. This is probably your biggest area of improvement, so you get a positive 10%. Now here's where this gets interesting. If you added up all of these components, out of 100% for each of these, it only adds up to 38%. So someone's only maxing out 38% of their potential. Now, once you do this, you're able to like really diagnose your specific and custom needs. So in this case, where do you think you'd get the most ROI? Just building some more self-discipline, habits, routines, showing up when you don't feel like it, that's gonna give you up to a 25% boost right there. You could just go endlessly searching for more clarity, but you know, that's only a 10% increase right there. Now, one note on this, common advice says focus on your strengths. And I've even heard it been said, you know, ignore your weaknesses and just double down, triple down, quadruple down on your strengths. And that can be good advice in certain contexts, but in the case of this, it's not. You'd actually get way more benefit focusing on where you're weakest. And again, some of these numbers are a bit arbitrary, don't get too bogged down here, but think higher level concept and how this applies to you in your life. Let's drive this home with a few examples. I pulled 3 different archetypes that I've seen and I've worked with, and let me know if you resonate with any one of these. I think this will really start making things clear for you. Archetype 1 is what I call the seeker. Okay, there's someone who's obsessed with clarity. They go to tons of seminars, they read all the books, they just think that in order to take action, in order to get the 2.0 them, they need to know exactly how it's going to play out. So they have just spent their whole energy and efforts maxing out this component, which is clarity. The problem is they don't understand that there's an upper limit to the amount of clarity you can have. Eventually, you actually have to just do it. If I'm brutally honest, I think clarity is very overrated. And it's something I wish I knew earlier on, because I got so caught up when I was in my early 20s about my niche. And I have to identify my niche and my ideal avatar and know exactly where I'm gonna go, and everything has to be in alignment. And then I can start making videos. I see this all the time with people who ask me like, how do I get started on YouTube? And my advice, don't learn. Literally, like, don't learn how to start a YouTube channel. Don't even go down that rabbit hole unless you're watching like 1 or 2 videos. Then film your first one. Because what I learned is that an hour of action beats 10 hours, 20 hours, you could even say, of research, of planning, of just daydreaming. It is amazing how fast you learn with an hour of implementation. So the seeker is interesting because they think that if I just know what to do, if I just like have the perfect plan, or I figure it all out before I take action, then my action will be perfect. And that's not true at all. You don't need clarity to take action. It's when you start taking action that the clarity presents itself to you. So my question to you, if you find yourself in this camp of like, dude, I'm journaling, I just feel so in my head. What if you already knew what to do? What if you already had enough knowledge in your mind to build a 100 grand a year business? What if you already had all the confidence you needed to put yourself out there and find someone to have a great relationship with? What if you already were qualified enough to at least apply for the job and just see what happens? It's just a discipline of following through and applying what you know. You don't need clarity to take action. It's in the action that the clarity presents itself to you. Still with me? Good, all right, we're moving on to number 2. Next archetype, this is what I call the burnt out. We've all probably had phases in our life where we feel like, I don't feel like I can get out of bed, I'm overworked, not excited about the things I used to, but I also feel this pressure to keep working because I'm afraid of losing it all if I don't continue this. What is burnout? The 2 textbook traits of being burnt out is when you have tons of self-discipline, but no energy. And you don't have energy because you almost have too much discipline. Like you've pushed yourself past the point of where you should have rest. There's an interesting story. It was someone who was riding his bicycle. He'd ride it every single day to work, and he timed it 45 minutes on the dot. He would leave his house exactly 45 minutes before he had to get to work. That's how long it took. He had it down to a T, and the whole time he was stressed that he was gonna be late. He'd show up at work, dripping sweat. Okay, what do I gotta do? And then one day he decided to do an experiment. He said, you know what? What if I leave 15, 20 minutes earlier, and I'm not as stressed out biking along the way? What would that do for me? What was so funny is that he timed it again. On the bike ride, he decided to take his time. He would breathe deeply, he wouldn't pedal as fast as he could trying to get somewhere. You know how much more time that added to his commute? 5 extra minutes. He got there and he's like, 50 minutes? Are you dead serious? I think that story illustrates burnout very well. Doing things as fast as possible, as max as possible, you think is getting you more than it probably is. So this camp won't get any more benefit from being more disciplined on themselves. They will get benefit from focusing on energy management. Are they meditating? Are they getting enough sleep? Is their diet in check? Are they going on walks? Are they oxygenating their body? Are they removing some of the subconscious chatter that's holding them back and causing them to overwork? These all go together holistically. And in focusing on the other areas that they're lacking, instead of 55% of their potential, this starts to creep up 60, 70, 80%. And the results actually increase. One final archetype that's very common, the health nut. Now again, this person's at 55% of their 2.0 potential. They're maxing out their energy as much as possible. Like everything they can do to optimize their life, their energy, they got it down to a T. 25% of their self-discipline, because it takes a lot of discipline to do that. 5% of their subconscious blocks, they got some limiting beliefs, they're in their head. And they're completely lost. They have zero clarity on what to do with their life. I will say, like, if there's any one of these to probably be trapped in, this might be the best one, because at least like you're healthy. But a lot of people are trying to be healthy so they can feel good. That's the whole point. Or how they look aesthetically, they feel their best when they look their best. But here's what's interesting. Sometimes people get to a point with health wellness where they do everything right and they're like optimizing everything, but internally they still feel depressed or anxious or like they're not enough. When you go a few levels deeper, you realize that they're trying to compensate a lot of their feelings, feeling good, but they're running and suppressing from their subconscious traumas that they've had as a kid, or from the person who rejected them. So they're trying to work on their health to show them, I'll be hot and you'll see what you were missing. It's comparable to you having 100+ tabs open on your computer. Even though you're not using all 100 at once, they're still eating up the mental RAM of your computer. And when you start closing out those stories about not being good enough, about your past, you start forgiving people that wronged you, you start releasing, you start letting go. It's like closing out all those tabs, and what you notice is the machine that is you runs smoother, better, longer, faster. So this person right here would get so much benefit if they focused on what they want to do, if they got really clear on like the 2.0 version of them, on setting goals, moving towards accomplishments. And again, it's not bad to be healthy, that's not what we're saying, but anything left unchecked can be out of balance. And they won't get any more benefit from obsessing over that. They will get a lot more benefit from finding out who the 2.0 version of them is and from addressing some of their past traumas, self-judgments, and limiting beliefs. And in doing so, they can get it from 55% to 65, 70, 80% plus. So now back to you. I want to give you an action step, so this is not all theoretical. Take out a sheet of paper and literally draw a circle just like this. Put lines in like this, divide it up as we showed you. And I want you, for step number 2, to fill it in. Here's the secret, like don't BS yourself here. Be as brutally honest with yourself as you can. So if you feel honestly like you're at 25% of your health potential, put 25%. It helps to compare yourself to like a level 10 person. So in the case of self-discipline, if like 0 is being on your couch all day, just binge watching shows, and like a level 10 at 35% is fully maxed out like a David Goggins running with broken feet or something crazy like that, where do you rank? Clarity. If you're super clear on where you need to be, you have the 5-year plan, you don't doubt it at all, you know exactly how it's gonna pan out, 15%. If you feel lost and floundering around, put 0. Subconscious. If you're someone who's like, yeah, you know, I've worked in therapy on myself, or I've meditated for 10 years, or I feel like I fully love myself and accept myself just as I am, put 25 there for it. If you're someone who's like, what is that? Dude, I feel in my head when I go up in a group setting, I'm constantly worried about worthiness blocks or not being enough or not living up to my potential, put a lower number. Then you tally all of those areas up, the percentage. That is your score out of 100. Now here's what's really cool. Take your weakest one and do a 30-day sprint on it. You're gonna go hard on that for 30 days. So if you do this and you find out, I'm only getting half as much discipline as I could, you're gonna obsess over being the most disciplined person you possibly can for the next 30 days. Or if you're someone on the opposite end and you're like, dude, I'm extremely disciplined, wow. But my energy is lacking a bit. You're gonna obsess over this. Try to be as healthy as possible for 30 days. Give up sugar, give up alcohol, go to the gym, go on a walk, do everything you can to max out the health, and just see after 30 days if your action is better, if your results are better, if you feel better. But this self-awareness exercise is customized to you of the area that you actually need to improve the most. And here's the coolest part. Once you start focusing on where you're weakest in this, you get results real quick. Like taking someone from 0% to 15%, maxing out the clarity, that's a 15% lift right there. If you were looking at a business and you could get 15% in 30 days, that'd be worth it, wouldn't it? You can get so much more bang for your buck when you start customizing all this advice to you, and this is the way you do it. So my challenge out of love to you is don't just make this another video. You're like, wow, that was theoretical, that was cool. Actually pause, take a moment and do this. And if you do, let me know in the comments what you find out about yourself. Even post your scores. I'd love to see them down there as well. Two more things. The first, if you're someone who wants to focus on all of these areas at once, it's exactly what we focus on in my Metamorphic program. I'll link down below where you can talk to one of our coaches for free, see if we can genuinely help you or if it's a fit for you. No pressure, but for those of you who are interested in working with me and my team for 10 weeks, you come on board and we give you some special attention. Second, one of the most powerful ways to increase all of these at the same time, become the 2.0 you, is by shifting your identity. So what I'll do here is link up our guide to shifting your identity, becoming the 2.0 version of you, and creating that. I'll see you in that video. It's a perfect follow-up for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Stop settling, start living. See ya.